This is cs952, Introduction to Web Technologies and Design, and we're almost done with our frequently asked questions page. There's a couple of little things I think we can add that's going to make our page a little bit more user-friendly. So the first one is, let's preview this page here in Chrome. Now, you may recall that when we have our three questions at the top, and then I elected to have us repeat the questions along with the answer when we have our three blocks that show what the answers are. And I think that's nice because particularly if you're working in mobile view and you scroll down, actually that's probably a little bit too narrow, and you scroll down, you may not remember if I click on what does the HB and pencil stand for. If I don't repeat the question, I may not recall exactly what the question is. So I think it would be a good idea for us to repeat the question and include that along with the answer. Now I think it would be a little bit clearer to someone looking at the page if we could somehow distinguish the text that is the question from the answer. And my thinking is if we just made that bold, that would be so helpful. We've got our back to the top button, we've got that bold and it's italicized, but it would be nice if we could do something similar for the question. If we could somehow make this stand out, maybe make it bold. Well, there's a very easy to use CSS selector that will do exactly that for us. So let's go back to Dreamweaver, and I'm going to click on when was the pencil invented, one of my questions. And we can see in our status bar it's inside of a paragraph tag. And let's just go and create a new selector. So I've got my styles selected, I've got global selected. Styles is where we always save all the unique CSS styles for this page, global. And I'm going to click on plus to add a selector. Now what Dreamweaver's suggesting for us is not what we want. It's accurate. It's saying we would be targeting a paragraph that is inside of a div with an ID of first answer that's inside of our bootstrap container, but that's not what we're going for. First, I want to make sure that this rule that we're going to be using is going to target all three of our answers. And of course, all three of our answers are inside of a div, and that div has a class of FAQ answer. If we look in our status bar, we can see the div, not only does it have an ID of first answer, but we also gave all of our divs an ID of FAQ answer because we've got three answers and we wanted to use a class because we're going to be using these same rules over and over again. So let's type that in first. Let's type in a period. As soon as we type in a period, Dreamweaver starts looking for different classes because classes start with a period, and type FAQ. And that was enough for Dreamweaver to say, okay, here's a class that starts with FAQ and it's FAQ answer. So let's select that. Now I also want to target a paragraph. So I'm going to type this spacebar, hit spacebar, and then I'm going to hit P for paragraph. Now I'll click on the P to accept that. Now at this point, this selector would target all the paragraphs that are inside of a container that has a class of FAQ answer. So we would be hitting all of the paragraphs on the page that are inside of these answers. Not what we're going for. I only want to hit just that first paragraph because the answer is always the first thing. Right? That first paragraph is always the answer, and then the paragraphs that follow us say, in the 16th century, the next paragraph says it didn't take long for people to realize. So we have a really handy advanced CSS selector. It's the first child selector. So if in order to use this, I need to add a colon, and as soon as I add a colon, we get these pseudo selectors. Remember, we used one of these before for our navigation, and if I scroll down, I'm going to find first child, and right there it is. Click on that. So this CSX selector, this is one of those descendant selectors, we're targeting a paragraph, but what kind of paragraph? The first child, that first paragraph in potentially a group of paragraphs that's inside of an element that has a class of FAQ answer. So I'm going to hit enter to accept this selector, and what I want to change is a text property. So I'm going to click on my text icon. And what I want to do is I want to change the font weight. And font weight is right here, and I'm just going to make it bold. So I can click here and choose bold. And there we go. Notice right away now when I'm repeating that question, it stands out from the rest of the text. It's bold. Let's go over here and preview this in Chrome. Do you want to save changes? And this is asking about the changes that we made to the CSS file. We know we made changes to the CSS file because we can see the asterisk next to styles.css. Let's say OK. All right, great. So now, what does the HB on pencil stand for? We're going to click on that. Takes me right down there. My question, while it's been repeated, it stands out in bold, makes it clear what I'm looking at. Let's click on back to top. Now, there's a little bit of a glitch here, and it's because in the implementation of our menu, we're using this fixed to top menu bar. And while we're skipping around through our page, and I kind of consider this to be a glitch, to be honest with you, our web browser is kind of forgetting that it needs to accommodate for this menu that we have here stuck at the top. Well, we have a fix for that, and the fix for that is a little bit of JavaScript and jQuery. And it's going to actually make the whole way the page works look a little bit better. So I don't have this in your tutorial text files, but if you go to Etudes, and if you go to the extra credit module, I'm looking at the extra credit module right now. It says week 11 extra credit. And you scroll on down for video 5, you can see I've got some JavaScript and jQuery for us to add. This should look a little bit familiar after last week. I'm going to right click and I'm going to copy it. So I just highlighted this text. We need everything from the opening to the closing script tag. Highlight and choose copy. Let's go back to our page, and we're going to add this like the rest of our JavaScript and jQuery. We're going to add it at the very bottom of the page. So let's just switch over to code view real quick. I'm going to scroll on down. And it's this kind of hard to find last editable instance. If I'm in my DOM panel and I scroll down, I click on the very last thing in my DOM panel, instance editable. Right here it is. This is where I can actually add in some code. Everything else is grayed. It's locked out because it was created in our template. So I'm just going to click here and I'm going to hit enter. Just give myself an extra line. Dreamweaver says, do you want to refresh? I'll go, yeah, let's refresh. I'm going to right click and choose paste. And this is going to animate the scrolling action. So you're going to animate scroll to the top. And then it's going to offset whatever the height is of our navigation bar. So we're not going to worry too much about the details. Let's just go straight to preview in Chrome. Do you want to save changes? Yep. Okay. So let me make this a little bit smaller as if we're working in our mobile view, and I'm going to click on what does HB on a pencil stand for. Now you can see we get this nice smooth scrolling action. If I click on back to top, we scroll back to the top, and we also accommodate for the height of our navigation bar. When was the pencil invented? Where does pencil and lead come from? Back to top. Go to our answers here. So this is, I'm sure you've seen websites like this before. Rather than having you immediately jump around, we get this nice, smooth scrolling action. And again, we're doing this because we're using JavaScript and jQuery. So we're almost done with our web page. There's one more change we need to make. Right now, there's no link to this Find Frequently Asked Questions page. If I go over here and look under my menu, I was going to use this link that says something else here and use that for my Frequently Asked Questions page. So let's do that. So that's going to be a change to our template because we're changing the menu. It's a change that's going to take effect on all our pages. Let's close up our FAQ, go to Files. I'm going to open up our template, double click on template. Let's see, if I'm in live view and choose split, always handy, being able to see our code, and I'm going to click on something else here. And if I do that, if I look down here, I can see line 54 is highlighted, and I'm going to remove this text that says something else here. I've got that highlighted, and I'm going to type in FAQ colon space. FREQUENTLY-ASKED-QUESTIONS. Frequently asked questions. I'll hit F5 to refresh. Let's go ahead and give it a title too. Same title. FREQUENTLY-ASKED-QUESTIONS. Frequently asked questions. And what are we going to link it to? We're going to link it to our FAQ page. So let's use Browse for File. And here it is. That's my FAQ page. I'm going to say OK. So now I've changed that link so that if I click under More, now it says FAQ, Frequently Asked Questions. Alrighty. That looks good. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to choose Preview in Chrome. Let me hit Cancel. I need to make certain that I choose to update Save All before I do anything else. Need to make sure that I get that, hit that Save All button, and I get my Update Template Files dialog box. So it actually updates all of my web pages. So close. Now let's preview in Chrome. Here we go. This is the template, not the page we want. I can click here, and I want to go to my Frequently Asked Questions page. There we have it. So now we've got a Frequently Asked Questions page tied up. Let's go back to our regular view here. We can look here. We can see there's FAQ. I can go, what is pencil? We're going to scroll down, scroll back to the top. So what does this look like in mobile view? Back to top. So that pretty much wraps up our Frequently Asked Questions page. So we went through doing some advanced CSS styling. We worked with creating links inside of a page, and then we put in a little JavaScript and jQuery to smooth out our scrolling action. If you like that little bit of code, that we added, you can add that to your template file, and then that would work on any page on your website where you would be clicking and scrolling inside of that page. And then we tied it together. So this will conclude the extra credit video for cs952. And I hope you enjoyed putting your website together, and hope to see you at West LA College next semester.